Hello and welcome to the 10th entry of my film journal where I record my experience watching your favorite movie. I'm Frankie, and today I'm hitting snooze with 9 Nightmare on Elm Street movies. From the void we come, and to the void we go, but in the meantime, we are going to have a silly and goofy time by analyzing some filmmaking in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Before I get into it, it is trigger warning time. There will be mention of all of these subjects that I haven't thought of yet, but I will think of while I'm editing. And if you're at all uneasy with any of these things, that's okay. This video is just not for you. And I'll also probably have to bleep a bunch of stuff because this is YouTube. But we're gonna be so normal about this subject because we are here for one thing and one thing only, and that is the craft of filmmaking. Okay? Okay. So, what am I doing today? I watched 9 Nightmare on Elm Street movies, which were listed on the franchise's Wikipedia page. Very official stuff. And I have prepared some slides with every character who, except the ones who don't have names. Because if the filmmakers don't care enough about the character to give them a name, then they will not make the cut. I've also set up a basic tier list, but I've not done any of the ranking yet, so I don't know the results. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm probably gonna have an existential crisis. Some people who, make better videos than me would maybe set some parameters on what they're ranking things on. I will be mentioning things like narrative, effects, some editing, and whatever else comes into my mind. But mostly I'm just gonna be ranking based on vibes because this is my channel and I can make decisions. My moon is in Libra, so I am known for making decisions. And just as a cherry on top for any nerds out there, I have also color coded the in the list. So I just want to know which movie I enjoy most, I don't know. I need to figure out my opinion, basically. This is what we're doing. This here is also the perfect moment for you to guess how many of characters we will be discussing today. You can pause the video and leave a comment, but if you're not so into predicting things like that, then just let the video play and we'll get into it with the very first movie, A Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984.
And uses these knives like giant fingernails.
I realized I haven't watched enough movies this month. Yeah. Just keeping up with some made-up KPIs in my head. Anyway, I need to watch some movies, and I stumbled upon my Nightmare on Elm Street box set, which I got when I was probably around 15, and that's probably the last time that I watched all of these. That's what I'm gonna do now. I haven't thought about it. I don't know what's gonna happen. I just set up my computer and got my spot stolen by a little sausage. But yeah, it's the morning. I have my coffee and my toast, and I am gonna watch the first movie. Let's get started. We have the original movie. It sets the scene for us. Freddy is evil. He loves kids. The adults suck, and so on and so on. Our first character here is Tina. Her scene starts with her asleep in bed. She hears something behind the window that leads her outside. I really like how they sort of deconstruct the soundtrack sometimes to create suspense. It really helps to create a good flow with the edit. When Tina walks through the moonlit backyard and there's like an alleyway or something, we see Freddy's shadow appear, and then he does like a sinister laugh, and he has really long arms. His glove makes some sparks when he drags them across a wall. He starts chasing her in a way that definitely didn't... Okay, it made me giggle a little. It's kind of funny. Yeah, that was good. We have, a shaky handy cam as she is chased back into the house. There's a shot also of Freddy cutting off his own fingers, and then a bunch of green liquid spurts out. We cut back to her in bed, and she is thrown about, she's clawed, and she is dragged across the ceiling. Very gruesome stuff, but very iconic. I think this is definitely one of the scenes that probably like really made the franchise. So I would say for Tina, there's a bunch of like soundtrack music thing going on, I think, as well. I quite enjoy this one because it like, we're setting the scene. We want to know what Freddy is made of, and he's made of really long arms. For this one, I'm just gonna start off strong, and I'm gonna put Tina in the S tier. Next up, we have Rod Lane. Rod is in jail. He is sleeping, and his sheet starts to tie itself around his neck. The police, they're being useless as per usual, and they only go and check up on him because Nancy begs her dad to do that. And when Rod wakes up, then he's being, dragged up a wall. It sort of makes it look like he did it himself. Overall, I feel like it's a pretty calm scene compared to the first one, definitely. But I feel like there's a decent level of suspense to it, mainly thanks to like the editing where, we're jumping from the jail cell to the police sort of office quarters. The editing and creepy music add to the suspense. I'm gonna put Rod... Where am I gonna put Rod? I'm like considering what we have coming up. It's creepy, there's suspense, like the editing helps. The creepy music helps. We're jumping from one place to another, adds to the confusion. But mainly we're in like reality, right? We're not really in the dream space. So we don't see Freddy like torturing him that much. But it works, I think. So I'm gonna put this one in the A tier. So Glenn here is great because he had one job to do, which was to wake up Nancy, and instead he went to sleep himself. Freddy basically sucks him into his bed, and then like copious amounts of red sludge. I can't even say pour out because it's going into the ceiling. Very shocking imagery, pretty slow build up. But I like it because it's just so gross. So I'm gonna put Glenn here in S tier. Very strange. Very weird. Last one from the first movie, we have Marge, Nancy's mum. Marge here is sick in bed, and I think she had like a drinking problem or something. Basically, like she's going through it like everyone else. No one is having a good time in this movie. What happens this time is that Nancy is fighting Freddy. He gets lit on fire and he runs upstairs, and Nancy follows his fiery footsteps. She finds Freddy just like on top of her mum while he's still on fire, and she just breaks a chair on him. Her dad comes and covers both of them with some sort of fabric to put out the fire, and when they pull the sheet off, Marge has seen better days, let's put it that way, and she just hovers down into the void of the bed while smoke comes out from underneath her, and there's some like blue flashing lights like lightning or something. I like that. That was good. That's how I hope to die someday. I feel like the music in this one, there was something about it that sort of reminded me of Mongolian throat singing. Nancy's dad's reaction is pretty funny because there just is none. But I guess they're in shock. I would also be in shock if I saw something like this. There's build up. I like the fiery footsteps. Those are good. So I am gonna put Marge here in the A tier. Because I'm going through these now after having watched all of the movies, it's definitely interesting to see how the sort of writing and editing conventions they change over time depending on the decades a little bit. These ones definitely had a much lengthier build up. I think it sort of relies a bit more on the psychological, and I guess the filmmakers are playing around with the sort of dream versus reality situation as well. So it's very interesting. The soundtrack also, I feel like on these ones, it plays quite a heavy role on the scene. So we have a strong start, and I have a feeling it's not gonna continue this way.
He comes to me at night, horrible, ugly, dirty.
In the second movie, we have a teenager named Jesse who moves into Nancy's old house, and he starts having nightmares about Freddy, and Freddy starts using him to do his evil bidding, I guess is how I can say it. There's some gay themes in this one, and also I guess bodily autonomy or something. Whatever. Coach here finds Jesse in a gay bar, so he brings him back to the gym and makes him run laps as punishment because, he's underage. He's not supposed to be in a gay bar. Afterwards, when Jesse is in the shower, Coach is in his office and he's organizing his jump ropes or some shit because, that's what you do if you're not actually officially working and you just need to punish a child. The rackets start breaking. There's just a bunch of balls flying towards him because he's gay. Maybe he's used to balls flying. I need to not say things sometimes. The jump ropes, they tie around his wrists and they drag him into the showers. He gets tied up. He gets beaten with a towel. Then Freddy emerges from the steam. He claws him a couple of times. Jesse is frightened because he finds Freddy's glove in his hand. So very psychological. He's getting a sense that something isn't right. Jesse really needs some therapy, but I mean, what would you even say as a therapist to all of this? I quite like the jump rope effect when it was dragging him across the floor. That was really cool. And I guess the writing makes sense, but I don't know. Overall, I'm just it was fine. It was okay. I feel like Coach here, gonna put Coach in the B tier because we didn't like him anyway because he's gay. What do we have next? Next we have Ron Grady. Jesse asked Ron to watch him while he sleeps, so Ron's just chilling and channel surfing, and then he just also goes to sleep because what else are you gonna do in this movie? Jesse wakes up. He's sort of panicked because Freddy's blades start growing from his fingers and his arm starts splitting open as well. We see Freddy's eye in Jesse's throat, which is a creative choice. He basically just splits open and Freddy comes out, which is pretty gnarly in my opinion. I think that's a cool thing to do with effects. Freddy, he's a bastard, but he's got pizzazz. He knows what he's doing. Ron's obviously panicking at this point, and his parents are behind the door. They're knocking, but the door is locked. They can't get in. And then Freddy just strangles him. Yeah, Jesse just sees Ron on the floor there, and it's not a good time at all. I do like the effects in this one. I feel like the fingers and Freddy emerging from within is pretty cool. And then also there's a psychological taunting thing both with Ron and with Jesse through the mirror. The way Ron dies is is pretty simple, I guess, but there's this whole added psychological thing happening with just him seeing Jesse do the thing, and that sort of adds to it. So the the simplicity of the actual thing doesn't really bother me that much. So where is Ron gonna go? Ron's gonna go in the A tier. I'm quite happy with that. I think there's levels to this one. And last but not least, in this movie, we have Carrie. This one's a really quick one at the end, and basically Jesse's just on a school bus with his friends, and he notices that something is off because the bus is kind of wonky and stuff. And then Freddy's hand, it just pops out of Carrie's stomach. And then the bus drives off the road and it drives into the desert or something. The others maybe also die, but that would have been off camera and we don't really know. But they never came back, so I'm not counting them. But like the specific hand, it's pretty simple. It's classic. The cut before it is very obvious. I know this is like a very sort of more manual effect that they're doing that takes it down a notch. Otherwise, I would have put it in the B one, but I'll put it in the C this time because I'm gonna mix things up a little. In this movie, there's definitely a lot more victims, but most of them were at that pool party and we don't really know who they are, so we don't care about them. But I think it's interesting to note that in this one, the sort of brunt of the violence wasn't towards the named characters. Maybe that was because Jesse was involved. I could see how that works with the writing. But out of the 3 scenes that I did discuss, I guess I sort of like the one where Freddy comes out of Jesse the most. There's levels to it. How did I grade it? Yeah, that one was the best. I already forgot. But we have these 3 for this one.
His name is Freddy Krueger. He was a child before he died.
The 3rd movie shows that Nancy has become a psychiatrist. She got an education and she teams up with a bunch of troubled teens because, yeah, they have to defeat Freddy. And who would you go to if not teenagers? Our 8th scene involves Philip here. So basically we're in this like creepy mental institution. Philip's backstory is that he's a sleepwalker and he makes puppets, the ones with strings where you can sort of control the limbs and stuff. One night, Freddy is feeling a little cheeky and he animates as one of the puppets. This is just the type of shit that Freddy does just for himself, because if you pay attention to the scene, no one sees him do this. He's just by himself. He's just like, I'm a puppet. Slice. He only becomes apparent to Philip when he sort of grows into normal size. He slices Philip's wrists and I think legs as well. And I'm not sure what part of the body this is supposed to be, but there's some sort of like long thing that comes out of Philip. It makes Philip into like a puppet because he makes puppets, and Freddy is he's clever like that. By controlling his limbs, he makes Philip walk onto the balcony of one of the higher floors. What I do really like about this scene is it is shot in a way where no one else really sees the strings, so we're sort of popping in and out of the dream and the outside, which is pretty nice. At one point the others see him on the balcony, but they aren't able to get to him because he's too far, and they just see him fall. There's also the shot of Freddy being a giant. Nice. Gross and sad, but nice. I think this scene's pretty good. Like, I like how it's shot and it's written. It's very imaginative. I like this one. I'm gonna put this one in the S tier. Number 9, we have Jennifer. This one is a classic. I feel like this is something you see related to Nightmare on Elm Street quite a bit. Lawrence Fishburne lets Jennifer watch some TV, and she's just, chilling and smoking, as teenagers do. And she's watching some talk show with a guest appearance from Zsa Gabor. That's a good cameo. That's an excellent cameo. She walks towards the TV in shock. Then there's like 2 mechanical Freddy hands that pop out of the sides of the TV. Freddy's head comes out from the top. Freddy has like a pretty good pre-murder singer in this one as well. He smashes Jennifer's head into the television and it blows up. This one really, I feel like, is also a very classic one. I like the effects with Freddy and the TV. I like this one. I think it's good. this one is also gonna go in the S tier for me. At number 10, we have, how did you say her name? Taryn? In my country, we don't have this name, so I don't know. Taryn White. Taryn finds herself in a rundown alleyway, but she's very heavy metal about it, and she has 2 switchblades to protect herself, which is much better than a lot of the other cases that we have seen so far. Freddy surprises her, and they have a knife fight. Freddy's fingers turn into syringes filled with blue liquid, and Taryn sees there's some like really gnarly wounds on her arm. They look like they're blinking. Freddy smashes all the syringes into her arms, and he does this face. And then Taryn screams in pain. The editing at the end of the scene is a little anticlimactic, but that's probably because we just have the next scene coming right after, so we have to do like a little bit of rhythm stuff in the edit. But I like the idea behind it. All these kids are, like I said before, troubled. They, it sort of relates to her backstory a little bit. Taryn's gonna go into the B tier. I feel like her and Coach, their scenes sort of are pretty similar to each other in terms of like how I would grade them. Right after Taryn, we have Will. He walks down a dimly lit, creepy corridor when the most evil looking wheelchair appears. Freddy starts teasing him from the shadows, and then the spiky wheelchair tries to run him over. How'd you end up in a wheelchair? There was a murderous wheelchair. He's so close to it, but he narrowly escapes. And then the wheelchair, it spurts towards him again. He takes advantage of some lucid dreaming powers, and he claims himself to be a wizard master. He blows the wheelchair into smithereens with some lightning power. He tries to do the same with Freddy, but it's not gonna work because Freddy is too strong, and he claws his chest again. Turning a wheelchair into a tool for murder it does tickle my brain a little bit. I just think of the art department, honestly, with them having to create this chair. I think that would have been quite fun to do. I also do enjoy the visual effects in this. It's giving the 80s. I'm gonna put Will here in the A tier. So Dear Old Donald is from the first movie. He's doing his best, I guess. And he starts to fight with a skeleton who very easily throws him into a spike. Why do we need things to look super realistic? Isn't this great? This brings so much joy. It's a very quick ending. Not much else happens, but you know what? I really appreciate that skeleton. Just for the skeleton, I'm gonna put Donald in the B tier. I'll do that. I feel like. Hello, skeleton. Good job, skeleton. And the last one from this movie, we have our OG character, Nancy. Nancy survived this so long, but Freddy drags her into a mirror. There's this other character called Joey, and his scream temporarily frees her, and everyone sort of thinks that it's over, but then her dad appears, who we just saw die, but he appears to tell her how much he loves her, and they hug. But it was Freddy this entire time. He basically uses the hug to stab her in the stomach. Before the end, she does manage to twist Freddy's arm into himself and wrestle with him a little bit until the other guys defeat him with the spirit of Christianity. Nancy dies in Patricia Arquette's arms. It is interesting staging. I like the sort of mirror effect, and I guess it does consider Nancy's narrative. But Nancy's gonna go next to her dad. They're both in the B tier. Overall, I think these ones did pretty good, even though 3 of them went into the B tier, but 3 of them went in the S and A tier. So I feel like there was a mix of things, but all of them pretty solid. I haven't put anything in the D tier yet, so we'll see how we'll continue with that.
It's not just a house. It's his home. He's waiting in there for me to dream.
I watched this a while ago, but what I do remember about the script was that it's like Freddy is basically General Kai from Kung Fu Panda 3. He's stealing the people's chi or whatever the explanation was. I feel like that's a fair description. First character in this one is Roland. Roland was one of the survivors from the previous movie, but his luck has run out. He falls asleep in his room with his dog next to him, and when he opens his eyes, he is stuck in a trunk in a rundown car in a junkyard. His dog starts digging in the soil, and he pees flames, and the flames, they open up a huge hole in the ground, and we see Freddy's skeleton. His body reassembles itself, and Freddy is reborn. Dun dun dun. So literally all you needed was dog pee. Fire dog pee. What? What happened? What? Roland runs through the junkyard, which is just exploding around him, and he's just being thrown about. He's surrounded by cars, and he screams out in panic that Freddy is back. Freddy stabs him in the gut, and then he takes his last breath in his bed. I quite like the editing in this one. I don't quite understand the flame peeing. Like, how does that bring Freddy back? That's a question mark in my head. The junkyard is cool. There's some cool effects. When it comes to like the method itself, it's like very classic. It could be viewed as boring, but I think because we have the build up here, it adds to it. So we can do the gut thing, you know, that's all right. I'm gonna put Roland in the B tier. That's what my gut is telling me to do with Roland. Number 15, we have Joey. Joey provides us with a nice callback to the first movie with him chilling in his room watching TV with headphones on. But this time, instead of being vomited out of his bed, he finds a naked lady swimming in his waterbed moments before Freddy pops out, and he basically drowns Joey. Having a waterbed when Freddy's after you is kind of a bold move. I do appreciate Freddy's catchphrase in this moment. How's this for a wet dream? It's very quick though, but I think it sort of, what I remember of it, it sort of made sense in terms of the flow of the edit.
Joey.
It's simple, but I'll put this in the A tier. I feel like I want Freddy to say weird things before he kills teenagers, because I don't need therapy and I'm so normal about it. Number 16, Kristen. Kristen's really been going through it. She falls asleep on her floor after this very spinny shot, and she wakes up at a beach. We love a beach. Freddy's claw shows up as if it were a fish, and he swims through sand into a sandcastle that explodes, and he appears. I like that. That shows that pizzazz that we know Freddy to have. I like how the glove moves through the sand, and I don't know, I think just the explosion with Freddy appearing, it's good. I like it. Kristen tries to escape, but she gets trapped in the sand. We all were afraid of quicksand when we were younger, at least millennials. I don't know what the kids are afraid of now. Fascism, global warming. We had quicksand. But when she goes through the sand, she falls through the ceiling into a dilapidated house, and she lands on a ceiling. We're in the dream space, so things don't need to make sense as much here. Physics, we don't know her. She then finds herself in a boiler room, and Freddy tries to use her to, I guess, like bring more of her friends into the dream, and Alice shows up. Kristen then attacks Freddy to protect Alice, and Freddy just straight on just throws her into like a burning boiler or something. She's sort of wet, but she's burnt. It looks a little crazy. The ending is quick. I like the build up, especially with the sandcastle and the glove. So I feel like I just like the exploding sandcastle too much. I'm gonna put this one in the A tier. It's good. There's a lot. I'm entertained. 17, Sheila. Sheila starts taking a math exam, and her writing sort of starts moving around. We've all been there. I kind of miss math homework sometimes. See? Freddy understands. She starts to panic, and then her pen starts dripping red, and she starts just smearing it over her test, and then the page sort of like sucks in her hand. There's also this really cool shot from above with some sort of optical effects. Freddy appears slicing an apple by the teacher's desk, so only Sheila and Alice seem to be aware of what's happening, and Freddy just slowly walks towards Sheila, kisses her. I guess he sort of like sucks out her life force, because whatever is happening here is happening. But in the real world, Sheila starts having an asthma attack and she dies in front of everyone. We love some disability inclusion. We love the optical effects. Learning is cool. We have the pen with the red blood. There's a lot of things happening in this one. Oh, so also the sucking of the life force. It sort of works well with the asthma. So I feel like Sheila's great. I'm gonna put Sheila in the S tier. Next up, Rick Johnson. Rick's hanging out in a bathroom stall when the door unlatches and a bunch of cheerleaders step in. He finds himself in a falling elevator, I think. And as the elevator crashes, then the doors open and he's in some sort of like martial arts inspired foggy room. He starts fighting an invisible Freddy. They're beating the shit out of each other. And Freddy's basically like talking about how ninja warriors have calm, so he needs to find his balance or some shit. Honestly, this isn't helping the General Kai accusations that I have. The Kung Fu Panda base its storyline on Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Is that what happened? I did have to check which film we're on. Rick throws a few punches, but ultimately Freddy's glove flies at him and it lands in his stomach. There's stuff involved, but it's just like a little too crowded somehow when I was watching it, and I don't know about this one. This one's like it doesn't really work for me. I'm gonna be a little bit like more critical about this one, and I'm gonna put it in the C tier. I feel like this one isn't as good, in my opinion. So Debbie here is minding her own business, working out, when Freddy appears in the reflection of her weights. We also have this like background action happening when Alice knows that Freddy is after Debbie, and she is basically stuck in some loop trying to get to her. Freddy forces down Debbie's workout equipment, and her elbows just break in the most gruesome way. Oh my god. What happened? It's not a good situation. I don't know even what to say about that. I think her face says it all in the slideshow. Her arms fall off, and I guess it's like cockroach arms appear. She tries to run away while Alice is still stuck in a loop. Eventually, Debbie gets stuck in some giant fly paper, and her just skin falls off and she emerges as her true bug self. Freddy then looks at Debbie, and I guess she's in like a roach box or something, and he squishes it. I do like this one. It sort of reminds me of Kafka. So I'm gonna put Debbie in the S tier. She's gonna go next to Sheila. Alright, and the last one in this movie, we have Freddy himself. I don't know why this is the first time I'm including him. Is it the first time? Maybe not. I don't remember things that have happened to me very often. But Freddy is here now, and his death is powered by electricity. It would have been if he didn't heal himself immediately. But what can defeat him is a poem and his own reflection, because he's so ugly. Alice basically shows a broken mirror, or I don't know, it's like a window or mirror, something that reflects. He sees his ugly face. It agitates the evil inside. Some hands appear from him, and it just starts ripping him apart. The effects are really good, very gross, so slimy. The effects are so slimy. I think this one was the one where his jaw is also ripped off, and he like sort of semi-evaporates, and then all the souls of the children he's gotten so far, they get out from inside of him. And it's kind of hard to take his death seriously because we know there are like 5 more movies coming up, but the effects are pretty cool. I feel like this one, I'm gonna put Freddy in B tier. When I was scanning through what I wrote for these scenes, I noticed that they are structured to have quite a long build-up. The actual ending moment itself happens quite quickly, or like between a cut or something, or maybe even sort of off screen somehow. Each movie so far does seem to have some sort of spectrum of whether it leans into the imaginative dream space terror type situation, or maybe the fear, especially in the later ones, the fear comes from more of the gore side of things. I guess these are elements that the scriptwriters can play with.
It was no accident, it was Krueger. He used to come into my dreams and not anymore. He found some other way.
In the 5th movie, Freddy is the worst baby daddy ever, and he uses Alice's pregnancy to regain his power. So Dan already had a bunch of car scenes in the previous movie, which he did manage to survive somehow, but this time he is in his car. Things get a little bit more serious. First, he starts hearing his mom's voice on the radio talking shit about him and Alice. Then the car's seatbelts trap him and he loses control of the car. Then Freddy appears next to him. He's drinking acid or something, and he uses that liquid to rip off his own arm. There's that showmanship. The car explodes and Dan flies through the windshield, and he lands in his school swimming pool. He steals a motorcycle outside the pool and speeds through the highway. That's when the bike's wiring somehow like lodges into his hand, and basically the bike itself, it has some sort of mechanical Freddy face, which it's quite scary if you're going so fast and suddenly like this happens. It's not good. The bike connects to him more and more, and we hear Freddy laughing, and then a very monstrous Dan speeds towards an upcoming car. It's a high speed, high risk. It's a bad situation. This is when we cut to Alice at her job. In the background, we see a shot of like a very fleshy Dan fly through some type of bowel, I'm assuming. We cut back to him in his truck and it crashes into another car. The effects in this are pretty cool. The editing sort of goes back and forth. I feel like the rhythm is a little strange, but I like that they sort of cut back to a relatively normal death at the end. Okay, that's a pretty gnarly death, I feel like. I'm okay with that. Where am I gonna put Dan? I like the bike, some minus points for the edit, cool bowel. I'm gonna put Dan in the B tier. Greta's at this really weird dinner with her mum, and everyone's really obsessed with her looks. The slow camera movement over the table while everyone looks at her is a really awesome way to set the scene. Freddy basically locks her in a baby chair and starts feeding her a lot of food, and everyone's laughing. This really is like very much nightmare. It gives nightmare. At one point, her cheeks are so full. They're so full. They are so full. And it just keeps getting worse and worse. Okay, this one was kind of savage, but better than the last movie's deaths, I think. Alice sees a weird scene in her fridge with the food, and she tries to help Greta. Back at the dinner table, a normal Greta appears to be given the Heimlich, and she just slumps over the glass dinner table. She's no longer amongst us. This one is pretty brutal, but it's pretty fast, so I feel like the audience is spared. But the effects are very nasty, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the stop motion. Someone worked really hard on that. So I think with Greta is gonna go into the A tier. Alright, number 23. We have Marky Boy here. So Mark's a comic book nerd. He is looking at some comics that look awfully familiar. When he sees a frame in the comic book which looks exactly like how he is in the moment, the comic book drags him into it, and he finds himself in this very liminal space. Everything is black and white except for him. He runs through the warehouse space as Freddy taunts him. I think Freddy's like on a skateboard or something. He's sort of just rolling around being evil. There's this creepy doll that is supposed to be Greta, and Mark arms him through lucid dreaming and he shoots Freddy. He wakes up laughing though and slices a piece of Mark, who now looks like a paper doll. Mark loses all of his color and Freddy just rips him to shreds. Mark's bloody hand lands on one of his comic books, and the comic book itself shows what happened to him. I feel like this one, I do really appreciate the sort of theatrical nature of this. The effects are pretty cool. It's been 4 years since Aha's Take On Me music video came out, so we can repurpose this idea. But it looks fun, so I don't mind. I feel like with Mark, it's definitely not an S tier one. I'm sort of in between A and B at this point, but I feel like it's gonna go in the B tier this time. I don't know why, but it's there. Number 25. 24. 24. 24. It's Freddy. So we're at the end again, and there's like a future manifestation of Alice's son. His name is Jacob. Jacob double crosses him and him with his tongue. There was some weird stuff that happened. I'm not sure what exactly, but basically these like little heads again sprout from him. They drag him until like a baby version of Freddy pops out, and then his nun mum absorbs him, and also Alice then absorbs Jacob. Okay. That was worse. That was, I guess technically he didn't die, because we see him claw out of the nun, but, you know, it's the end, so I've thrown it in here. Why do I do things? I don't know. He's in there though, so we have to rank him, and this is really confusing. I don't know. I feel like it's a weird scene just because I don't understand the narrative, I think. So I'm gonna put Freddy in the D tier. It's the first one in the lowest rank. It's just a weird scene. I don't get the Jacob thing. I don't get the nun mom thing so much. So it's in the D tier. That's it for this movie. I quite enjoyed the imagination behind some of the scenes here. I don't really care for this movie that much. It's just the whole like pregnancy storyline doesn't really make... I don't remember it enough, but it just doesn't make sense to me that much, so I'm not so fussed with it. Let's move on, because I still have so many movies to go. I had to walk my dog, so I look different now.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
In the final nightmare, Freddy uses amnesia to, abuse some troubled teenagers. It's also an interesting watch because it's the only movie in the franchise that is directed by a woman. So who are we starting with in the final nightmare? We are starting with number 25, Carlos Rodriguez. So all of these kids, basically, they sort of escape from a psychiatric institution. The one adult who should be responsible for them lets them go and hang out in, I think, the rundown version of the Elm Street house. She's not the most responsible adult, is she? Feels like maybe these kids shouldn't be.
Tracy.
Carlos, of course, he falls asleep because, you're in this movie, why wouldn't you? He finds himself in some, hallways. It seems at first that his mother is threatening to clean out his ears, and he seems to have some trauma surrounding that. But then Freddy appears, and he just shoves, the longest Q-tip you have ever laid your eyes on into his ear, and it comes out the other side. No. like the sound design. Everything else sucks though, so it's not a good time to have medical anxiety. I'm just thinking about that scene. I remember it and I wish I didn't. Everything falls silent, and Freddy kind of taunts Carlos without him noticing because he lost his hearing aid, so he can't hear anything right now. It's boring to scare someone who isn't noticing you, so he gives the hearing aid back, and it infuses with his skin around his ear, which is very scary, and then it becomes way too loud. Way too loud. Gross. What the fuck? The very imaginative son of a bitch that he is, he drops a handful of needles, and the sound of those dropping against the metal is so loud that it completely disorients Carlos. Okay, I kind of do appreciate how this is filmed, because like my grandma was hard of hearing and she had a hearing aid, and those things low-key do malfunction sometimes. Then Freddy, basically, he pulls out one of those big chalkboards that you would have at school. He's just scraping it, and he's doing it so well that Carlos's head explodes. Oh no, 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 don't do it, Freddy. Don't do it. This one I have to give 5 stars for the disability inclusion, but also the sound design, because I feel like that's fun. At one point it's completely silent because Carlos can't hear, so why can we hear, you know? It's good. It's good. I'm gonna put Carlos in S tier just because hearing aid is good. Next up, number 25, we have Spencer Lewis. So this guy is a huge stoner. He's also in the house where Carlos was, but he basically falls asleep smoking. He is awakened by the television showing Johnny Depp frying an egg, which is the scariest thing you could ever see. Sometimes Freddy is just doing it for all of us. Then animates a 60s acid trip on television, which just pulls Spencer in. When we see everyone else look for Spencer, then he is nowhere to be seen because he is in Freddy's video game. The specific effects in this aren't too terrible, but I do feel like they get a little dumb. Spencer flies through a wall, but is halfway still in the video game because I guess he's sleeping or something. And Freddy's just like stomping the shit out of him. His unconscious body also gets animated, and he just moves through the house in a very cartoon-like fashion. Okay, this is kind of stupid. I don't know. We also have some very silly sound effects. Freddy just went into those like royalty-free websites, and he chose a catalog from there. Spencer's friends find Freddy playing the game, and they try to stop him, but Freddy connects his mechanical glove and basically kills him in the game. The whole TV fills with corn syrup. Okay, boing is a crazy way to go. I like this though. I personally do love some silly stuff in these movies, but this one goes like a little bit too hard for me. So with Spencer, I'm gonna put Spencer in the C tier. I feel like he fits in well with the other two who are in the C tier. There's imagination, there's effects. Maybe too many. So John here, he has amnesia, and he already actually had a scene in this movie at the start of it where he's in a falling house. Oh no, is this the falling house again? I recognize the ugly wallpaper. Now it's going up. Now it's going up. Never trust Freddy. Gravity doesn't make sense in Dream World, so it's going up. He jumps out the window and uses this like emergency parachute. When he opens the parachute, I think Freddy's like in the parachute somehow, and he of course cuts the straps that are connecting to John here. John starts falling And just before he lands on the ground, Freddy has some sort of platform with huge spikes, and John just falls into that. It's not a good time. Oh. Okay. As he passes, then his body evaporates and Freddy absorbs him. I guess this one too is pretty imaginative. You also have the connection with the first scenes because you had this expectation of the house falling in the first one. You can do a little switcheroo with it, so that's good. The parachute is, I appreciate it. I think the effects in that, I'm trying to remember how it looked like, but I feel like I quite remembered when both of them are falling. That looked quite kind of cool. And I guess the spikes also, it is very Looney Tunes though. I feel like John is gonna go into B tier. There's a bit more there than Spencer, but I'm feeling the B tier. Last one from this movie is Freddy himself. So this movie has the storyline with Freddy's daughter, who's all grown up. At the end of the movie, Maggie confronts Freddy about killing her mother, while the survivors are trying to get Freddy out of the dream world into reality so they can show him a thing or two. When Freddy eventually shows up, then he's like crying on the floor. He looks pretty much like a normal human. He's just a baby. Maggie gets his glove. He's walking around the ceiling all normal like. She headbutts him and uses the glove against him, and they wrestle. I think she like bit his nose or something. She also broke his fingers. There's like a knife throwing scene. She even almost hits him in the with a crossbow. That's what you can call daddy issues, I think. Do you even have daddy issues if you haven't tried to hit your dad in the with a crossbow? That's what I'm asking. Eventually she uses the glove and debowels him. They also just find like a bar of dynamite and she shoves that in him. Okay. That was stupid. But I kind of enjoyed it. So I feel like I do appreciate the crossbow. There's just something about the rhythm of it. I feel like the editing, or maybe it's how it was filmed. I don't think the things that they're doing necessarily are bad. But I feel like, yeah, there's something about the edit that like it just takes it down a notch. So I'm gonna put it in the C tier. With this movie, I had quite a few moments where I enjoyed how it was filmed and staged, but somehow I feel like those moments weren't really the scenes that I talked about here. Like the scene with when someone's in the car with a road map and then the map gets really big. I thought that was really good. There were some effects that I really liked as well. Some effects maybe didn't age too well. It's like the most Looney Tunes movie of all of them. Not just so far, but just in general. So how goofy can you get with Nightmare on Elm Street? Or is it better if it's less goofy? I don't know. But those are my thoughts on this movie. And on to the next one.
This is still a script we're talking about, right, Wes?
Yeah, well, I sort of think of it as a nightmare in progress.
Wes Craven was like, Freddy is dead, and only I can bring him back. Literally. I'm gonna be in the movie. So this movie has a relatively few scenes that we're gonna talk about, and the first one also has two guys in it. So let's take a look at it. It's Charles and Terrence. The first two deaths happen very quickly at the start of the movie. That was pretty quick. We're like, what, not even 3 minutes into the movie? Or is this the movie? The backstory was like they're sort of special effects guys who are building the hand. The hand just lodges itself in one of the guy's throats, and then it goes after the other guy, cutting his chest. It's quick. We don't really learn anything about these guys other than their job. I mean, it's scary. The kid is there. It's gonna, I don't know. It's like, can this go in the D tier? I don't know. I'm generous right now. I'm gonna put it in the C tier. I feel like it was okay. Oh, this is such a long intro without Freddy. But I guess he's closing in, right? Number 31, Chase Porter. So Chase is married to Heather in this movie, and he's off on a set filming something, but Heather calls him and asks him to come home. Chase is driving home, and he's kind of tired, and he keeps falling asleep at the wheel. Freddy's claws appear from within his car seat next to his crotch. Freddy just like rips into his chest. Chase loses control of the car, and later on we find out that he died when the cops show up to tell Heather about his passing. I feel like overall the scene is a little boring to me because we have had a few car scenes in this franchise before, and if we compare to those, it's kind of a little basic, I guess. I'm just thinking still of that like motorcycle, you know? That really hits you a bit harder than Chase's truck here. So Chase is also gonna go into the C tier here. No, Chase is gonna go in the D tier. Now that I saw them side by side, I feel like the C ones, they were better. I'm sorry, Mr. Craven. I do love your work, but Chase was kind of boring. So he belongs in the D tier. Julie probably has the most gruesome scene in this movie. Julie is the little kid's babysitter who's with him in the hospital room when Freddy appears, because the little kid was like falling asleep because I think the doctors gave him drugs or something. Freddy appears, so Julie can't see him, but the little kid can see him, so it sort of like adds to the terror of the situation. Freddy's mask is so snatched in this scene. It's just, he slashes into Julie and just drags her across the walls and the ceiling. A very, very classic way to go in this series. Having the kid in the room as an audience adds to the terror of this scene. Just look at his freaking face. This kid really is an excellent horror movie kid. I feel like I'm never gonna watch Pet Sematary again. And it's because of him probably, right? Not all the other scary things that happen in there. I like Julie's scene. This one's really classic. I'm gonna put Julie in the A tier. This movie is pretty interesting because obviously it's like first one I think that Wes did again since the original one. If we compare it to the other ones we've spoken about, it's pretty uneventful with only 3 scenes to discuss within the span of almost a 2-hour runtime. I did appreciate this movie because Craven gave this movie like a little spin. You can kind of also see him working through some ideas when it comes to the Scream franchise. He's on his way to there. You know, that's pretty cool to look at in terms of a filmmaker. I enjoyed this one. It was very long though. Next one. Freddy vs. Jason.
Just give me 15 minutes and wake me up. I'll bring that bastard Freddy back through.
So this 2003 movie is a franchise mashup where Freddy is using Jason to do his bidding. Technically, it's not always Freddy doing the thing, but it's on Wikipedia, so let's just do it, because I need to stop talking. This video is too long. I can feel it. It's too long already. All right, Freddy vs. Jason starts with Trey Cooper. Before I get into describing the scene, let's just remember that this guy sucks ass. He doesn't have any good qualities, which is why when Jason practices some extreme acupuncture and origami on him, we don't feel bad at all. Honestly, good. We now have, I think 9 years since the last movie. We are in the 2000s. We have some tonal changes. Very gruesome. Jason's style is way different than Freddy's, but we are still ranking them based off of this tier list. So I'm gonna put this guy in the B tier. Mr. Mueller. So this dad's death is sort of from his son's point of view, because initially was there a weird like shadowy shot of Freddy just before this, which was kind of creepy, and we have a goat. You know, stuff is gonna happen if there's a goat. Okay. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Freddy scares him awake. Mr. Mueller is sitting next to him and his head just falls off. Mr. Mueller, it's quick but efficient. I'm gonna put him also in the B tier. Now, moments after Mr. Mueller, we have Blake over here. Blake is obviously in shock because his dad's head just fell into his hands. Jason's just like, he does not care. He's there to do the thing, and he just machetes Jason. It's very fast, but overall it's like not too memorable in my head. I'm gonna put Blake in the D tier, but I think that might just be because of Jason. Jason has a different type of style than Freddy. There's all these kids at a party in a cornfield. Gib passes out in the middle of the corn. In her dream, she frolics into some farm building filled with machinery. You'll have to excuse me, I'm a commie block child, so I don't know agriculture stuff. But there's like a a building with machinery in the middle of corn. so that's where Gib finds herself. The lighting is very red in this building, and Freddy, basically, he starts chasing and taunting Gib. The fog machine was also used very freely in this scene. Gib falls off of a platform and then hides in a locker. Freddy finds her there, and before he is able to do anything, then her chest explodes. In real life, Jason got to her before Freddy. In the dream, she evaporates. Freddy is kind of pissed off because, you know, he was doing his shtick, you know, and Jason just ruined it. I don't know about this one. I feel like it works in terms of the storytelling. I like how Freddy gets pissed off. He summoned Jason just to do his bidding, but then it's sort of backfiring. So I like that added layer in the writing. We're missing that pizzazz from Freddy. It's just not cunty enough. You know what I mean? I'm gonna put Gib also in the D tier. 37, Mark Davis. So Mark's been going through it. He is really sleep deprived, and he's just been taking pills to stay awake, and he accidentally drops the last pill that he has down the drain. I love sleeping. I would just not survive. Freddy frightens him through the mirror. His dead brother appears in a bathtub filled with a bunch of red corn syrup. The liquid sort of flows over the bathtub and onto the floor, and then it connects to his feet as Freddy taunts him as his brother. And eventually Freddy just sets this guy on fire and starts throwing him around the room. He's flying all over the place. Freddy slashes his face, and just as his friends are watching, we see the message, Freddy's back, on Mark's back. I feel like there's quite a few levels with this one, like with the family trauma that Mark has, and then how the thing connects to his feet is scary. There's also the throwing about, but there's just something about the editing that took me out a little. Mark, you were so close, but you're gonna go into the C tier. I can't do anything. If my brain says that the flow isn't good in the edit, then there's nothing I can do to fix my mind. Next up, we have Scott here. Scott gets electrocuted when Jason gets his like machete stuck in a bunch of electrical equipment. It's very quick and pretty nice. His face looks so gross. Since he was sort of just a side character, then do we need anything else? These ones are a little hard to rank, I feel like, because I'm looking at everything else that I have on the tier list here, and I'm gonna put Scott in the D tier as well. There's not much to it, that's why. That's the only reason. I feel like it just fits with the other ones in this rank. Number 39, Bill Freebug. Bills are designated stoner guys, so what better place to light up than a secret laboratory filled with teenagers who have their eyes covered with cotton pads and they're connected to a bunch of machinery. That's the best place to light up. He sees this thing. It's like a bug or something. Oh my god, the CGI. Bill basically, he follows this bug thing and he finds like the other creepy children. Oh. The bug surprises him and it climbs into his mouth. It's really gross. Is he a goner here? Or later when Jason slices him in half? Who can tell? But certainly it gave this actor quite a few things to act out. So that's something. I'm gonna put Bill into the B tier. Because there's a little bit more there. There's a little bit more there. He's gonna go in the B tier. Charlie, number 40. Charlie runs at Jason with a flagpole, and then Jason pushes him off, and he just falls onto a metal shelf bracket. He runs away with Kia, and then very nonchalantly bleeds out in the woods after telling her to leave him there. This is like pretty basic for this franchise. I guess it's the whole Jason thing again. Jason just like he's a different beast than Freddy. Who can blame him? But you know, we're grading on a scale of all of these movies, so I feel like Charlie here, it's okay. D tier. Kia tries to do something. In her scene, Kia confronts Freddy first. She calls him an F slur and then jokes about how his is small. So I'm already on board with this scene. Jason surprises her from behind and gives her such a huge whack that she flies across the yard into a tree, and that's it. But A for effort for Kia, you know? She had balls. She really did. The actual scene itself, like in the scale of what we're talking about, not so interesting, but she had heart. So I'm gonna put Kia in the C tier. Alright, and last but not least, again, we get to Freddy here. The final battle itself goes on for quite a while. Essentially, to condense it, Freddy finds his end when Jason stabs him from behind with his own hand. That's pretty rad. The water is very well lit. Fire and everything. And then Lori, who's the main character of this movie, but I don't think I mentioned her so far, she beheads him with Jason's machete. There's a double whammy, and there's also the shot of his head floating through water. So I feel like this scene definitely, I feel like, is better than the last Krueger scene. I quite enjoyed it. I feel like I'm gonna put this one, I don't know, there was something about this scene that I enjoyed with the water. It was quite like colorful. There was a lot of flames and shit reflecting, explosions. There's something quite like poetic about it. So I'm gonna put this Freddy one in the A tier. I feel like I'm satisfied by this. Freddy vs. Jason obviously has a slightly different vibe to it than the other movies because it does include multiple franchises. So I do feel like most of these scenes relied more on the sort of gruesomeness of the visuals than the dreamscape logic thing that we've seen in other movies, but I did enjoy how some of it was filmed in terms of cinematography. I think there were some interesting shots and staging in it. So yeah, that was Freddy vs. Jason.
It was like somebody was making him do it, but there's nobody there.
And so we have reached the final movie, finally. This one is basically a remake of the original, but with different characters, and they also made Freddy a for some reason. It's very 2010 coded. Just look at these Uggs. Let's just do it because I'm tired and I want to finish recording this. So 43, Dean Russell. Dean is the very first victim of the movie. He's just about to meet Freddy when he's falling asleep in a diner, but Rooney Mara wakes him up. He chats with Chris. The acting is excellent. When Chris goes to the bathroom, Dean falls asleep and Freddy appears. In the real world, Chris is watching as Dean slashes his own throat. It's very, very gruesome. Oh my god. This is a very different vibe for the movies. This movie uses quite quick cuts, and there's also this like foggy, blurry effect at times. It's stylistically, or maybe like more so tonally, quite different from the other movies. So yeah, it is a pretty quick scene, but it's tonally very different. I feel like because of that, I'm gonna put, what's his name? Dean. I'm gonna put Dean in the C tier. Because there's a little something happening, you know, there's the psychology thing of Chris seeing him do it and he is technically asleep, so, but there's not much else to it, so C tier it is. Number 44, Chris. Her scene is pretty much a play on a scene which we have discussed a couple of times already and that we started the movie with. I do find the dialogue in the scene quite funny because she's like, I'm scared if I fall asleep, Freddy will get me. And the guy is like, let's just not talk about it. And then they immediately fall asleep. Chris wakes up to her dog Rufus barking outside. She finds him slashed outside. Rest in peace, Rufus. And then Freddy spooks her with his unhinged voiceover. And she runs into the house, but she finds herself in a school. There's also this moment where Freddy like caresses a chalkboard, and it's pretty interesting to see how different this character is in this movie, because if you remember with Carlos we also had a chalkboard, and that scene was very different than this one. So Chris startles awake in her bed and she washes her face and nothing happens for ages and it gets really quiet. And when she gets back into bed, Freddy goes to work and just flings Chris around the room. Oh no. That's kind of crazy. Wow. Because it feels like more of a remake of the first one, there are elements in the staging and editing that sort of are similar to the original movie. I don't know if it added anything. I guess that's why it was so long, because you have like a few moments where you're expecting the bed thing to happen and it doesn't happen and it gets quieter, but then it does happen. But then I don't know if I was as surprised when it did happen. I feel like by that point I don't know if I cared anymore. I don't know. It's okay. It's like, yeah, it's different. I feel like Chris, it was a long scene. I shouldn't put him below Dean because Dean's was so quick. But I'm also going to put this in the C tier because it just didn't really do anything new for me. We have another Jesse. So this Jesse is in prison because he was there when Chris got and just as he's about to get out with bail, the prison changes into a huge boiler room. Freddy taunts Jesse when he drags his claws against I think there's some metal. It just shoots sparks. Freddy in this movie is also so different. He kind of just tortures them psychologically a bit more, probably because of the whole like storyline thing. In this scene as well, things get very quiet and then this very low shot of Freddy's hand popping through his chest happens. Then we basically just see him bleeding out. Boring. I'm so twisted. I think I need therapy, guys. Like, I don't know. That was boring, right? What I did like about this scene specifically is that later on, when in the real world it seems like he's already dead, then we see in the dream world, Freddy explains to him that the brain function remains for longer than the heart, so he can technically continue torturing him, which that's an interesting layer. But that's all we see of it. I feel like Jesse is a little bit more interesting to me. There was also like the walls changing. That was a pretty cool effect. It doesn't get over the line to get more than a B ranking. Next up, Marcus. Marcus here we see very briefly and only through Rooney Mara's computer screen. He's part of Freddy's backstory in the movie. He published a video diary on his website and basically Freddy gets him during one of the recordings. I don't really mind a minor character scene in this. I think, you know, it can add to it and it makes sense why this would be in here. But I feel like because of how it was staged, it was mainly there so that Rooney Mara's character could get more information, which we also sort of already knew. So what do I do with this? I feel like with Marcus, I feel like I'm gonna put Marcus in the D tier. All right, and for the last one, we have 47, Gwen. Gwen was Rooney Mara's mum in this movie. She was very sus. And at the end of the movie, when Rooney Mara gets home with her mother, she sees Freddy's reflection in a mirror behind her. And then Freddy shoves his hand through the mirror and he gets her mother while Rooney Mara screams. Okay, that one was good. This is literally like, it takes a split second for this scene to happen. The editing itself is pretty tight. I feel like it does create the shock value it needed. And it also surprised me a little because I think there's the like the claws go through the face or something. I quite enjoyed this one. I think because I was surprised by it, I'm gonna put it in the B tier. I feel like this remake specifically was probably mostly a try to see if newer young audiences who maybe didn't quite grow up with the original movies but had some sort of cultural reference to it, they just wanted to see if they would be interested in the franchise. The movie itself, in terms of film form, is tonally very different from previous movies that we did talk about. I personally never saw it. I'm not sure why. I feel like I even did remember it being advertised, and I would have been 16 at the time that it came out, and I had seen the movie, so I don't know why I didn't see it. I definitely do remember, though, the media that was targeted towards teenagers at the time. Because of that, this movie does tonally make sense for me. I just don't know if the whole like storyline thing worked out for them at the end. Probably it didn't, because obviously we haven't had a movie since then, so skewed too much into the gruesome and not enough cuntiness, you know? I made it to the end. This took way too long. Did I learn anything? I don't know. Okay, the hair is crazy, but I just would like to say that as per all the videos on this channel, I made this because I wanted something stupid and low effort to work on the side of other stuff that I'm working on. And it just took so long to edit that I don't care about writing a conclusion anymore. But I will say that maybe if this franchise gets resurrected in the fine year of 2026, then my pitch would be that maybe Freddy, I don't know, he drinks like vape juice or something, and he gains just a teensy bit of morality to understand why it's not so good to kill kids, and then he sees a list that may or may not be circulating online, and maybe he gets the idea to balance out his karma a little bit. That, I feel like current audiences would like it. Fuck fascism. Please stand up for human rights in whatever way you deem possible in your daily life, and spit on a billionaire? Allegedly, you should spit on a billionaire. I heard someone say something like that. Unless they want you to. Then don't. Hey you! Thanks for watching this whole video. If you like what I do, why not hit the subscribe button over here and let me know down in the comments what movie I should watch next. YouTube also thinks that you might enjoy this video, or I also worked on this one, so you can choose any of them to continue, or even better, just go outside. Hope you have fun watching your next movie. Bye!